Hello and welcome to the channel again. Pen friends everywhere, thank you for tuning in. It's time for another Pen Talk 101, and today we're going to tackle a very interesting subject which I think most of you have some questions or even encountered some problems. So I have a list right here to not miss anything, and I wrote down a few questions, and together we are going to go through them and I will answer to each of them. So the subject is flex nibs, flex writing, and what to do and what to avoid when flexing a nib. So let's start with the basics. First, what is flex writing? Well, flex writing means that you are going to use a nib pen or a dipping nib, and you're going to vary the line of writing by applying pressure to the nib, thus wise spreading the tines apart and creating line variation. What is a flex nib? And here is a very deep subject, and many of you call flex nib a vintage flex nib. Well, for the sake of it, let's call flex nib a nib that allows some line variation to occur when applying some pressure. I think it's fair. Next, what to look for when getting your first flex nib. And here is a very interesting subject. From my personal perspective, I would advise you, if you're trying to learn how to flex a nib, to start with a still flexing nib. In this department, there is two options, which both of them I tried and I find to be very interesting and good learning tools. We have the Noodler's nibs. You can find them online, available, fairly cheap. Then there is another alternative which I till this day use, and that is the Stipula Flex nib, which is a steel nib with a slit cut much more than your usual nib. Usually they don't have breather holes, and they allow some line variation when pressure is applied. I'm trying to go and steer you that direction because with a steel flexible nib you will have to apply more pressure. Thus wise you will learn the sensibility of different materials and how to avoid overdoing flex, thus why ruining your nib. Probably the next option that I see if you want to invest a bit more would be a titanium nib, and also I experimented with the Stipula T-Flex nib, which is very interesting. It's a different nib than the steel nib and the gold flexible nib, but I think you should consider it trying. And last but not least, if you can afford and want something very good, there is the gold flexible nibs. And here you can go vintage flex, 14 karat flex, 18 karat flex, anything. The market is open and you can easy choose from a lot of them. So now we're going to go through what to do and what to avoid doing when you are trying to flex a nib. And we're going to keep it as general as possible, so this applies to steel, titanium and gold. So the first point on the list is apply pressure only on downstroke. Okay, I'm going to try to insert a few videos of me doing this things. So what does it mean? You will apply pressure to the pen or the nib only on downstroke, not up. No. You will bend the tines, ruin your nib, or do something very, let's call it ugly. Okay, point number 2 is apply pressure midway on your downstroke. So for example, if you're drawing a line from point A to point B, you're not going to start applying pressure initially as you start writing. No, you are going to put the nib to the page, going to start moving the nib down, and midway you're going to apply pressure and you're going to flex the nib. When you're going to finish that line, usually you must finish with the tines coming together and closing the gap between them. This is very, very important because if you're going to start applying pressure directly as you are going to come down with the line from the starting point, usually you can break the capillary action and make the nib railroad. Last point that I have in the do's and recommendations is learn how to flex the nib and have patience. So no matter what nib you are going to use, you are going to develop a skill on how to do it, but most important, what to avoid doing. So here we can mention you are going to have the sensibility developed to feel when is too much, and usually that is the biggest problem that is happening when trying to learn or to perform flexing. A lot of people are usually overdoing flex and springing the nibs, destroying them eventually, and you need to send them to a nib micer and have them put back together. So we're going to try to avoid that. Now let's concentrate on a few don'ts and things to avoid when flexing. First of all, feed must not touch the paper. If the bottom feeder is touching the paper, usually that's too much and you're doing something wrong. No, flex means regarding those aspects to have the feed glide over the paper and not touching it. Number two, don't overdo it. And again, I may be repeating myself, it's better to take it slowly, gradual, to increase the flex capabilities and to do it safely. So take time, don't overdo it. Number three, don't flex horizontally. Usually, flexible writing means that you're going to apply pressure on the downstroke, on the up, down motion, not sideways. No. You most likely will damage the nib if you're doing like so. Like this, you write without any pressure. From up to down, you are going to follow the steps and apply gradual pressure to the nib. Last but not least, don't go too fast. Now, most of you who are going to try this are going to do it slowly, so there is no problem in this aspect. But for people who are trying to step it up and have a bit of skill, usually they'll railroad the nib. And usually that means that you are writing too fast and the feed cannot sustain the flow that the nib is demanding while flexing. So I think it's important to take it slowly and to control the movement. Above everything, I really think that you can learn a lot if you are going to imagine the nib as a paintbrush. When you apply pressure, usually the hairs are going to have a bigger area, they're going to spread and they're going to make a thicker line. When you are going to remove the pressure from the pan, the hairs of the brush are going to come together and make a smaller line. Imagine this, don't overdo it. And I think you have a lot to learn if you're going to follow these steps. Well, I think this is it. Let's not make this video too long. If you're interested in knowing more on the subject, you can leave your questions in the comment section below. Yet again, if you're looking for a next writing instrument, please go to the website www.pan-venture.com. Contact me via email, send me your questions, anything regarding this, and also if you have another subject that you are going to need more information on, please leave your suggestions in the comment section below and I will make a video for you. My name is Emmy and I look forward to seeing you next video.